Hello, and welcome. In this tutorial, I'm going to cover a wrapping functionality, which is an essential and unique tool in Wrap version 3. Let's go ahead and start with loading a 3D scan. I'm going to come over here in the graph editor, click Tab, and create a Load Geometry node. From the parameter panel, I'm going to select my 3D scan file. Wrap 3 comes with a big set of scan examples, so please feel free to use any of them. Okay, here we have a hand scan. Let's turn off wireframe and choose some different color. Let me call this node a scan. I'm going to create another node, and this time I'm going to load a base mesh from the Wrap Models folder. Let's call this node a base mesh. What I'm going to do now is to wrap this generic base mesh around my 3D scan. To do that, I'm going to use a wrapping node. Let me plug my base mesh into the first input and my scan into the second input. As you can see, the wrapping has started immediately. Let's give it a few seconds to complete. Okay, so here we have our wrapped model. Easy, right? Sometimes, however, it is useful to see the wrapping process in progress. To do that, I'm going to turn off auto compute, and now as I click the compute button, I can see it wrapping in real time. Alright, let's take a look at a more complex example. I'm going to load another hand scan. As you can see, there is a much bigger difference between the scan and the template this time. If we run wrapping now, it will most likely fail. So I'm going to help the wrapping algorithm by providing a few point correspondencies between the scan and the base mesh. To do that, I'm going to use Select Points node. First of all, I'm going to plug my models in the exact same order as I did previously for the wrapping node. Now if we come over here to the Editor tab, we can see two models placed side by side. What I'm going to do now is to specify 5 point correspondencies, one per each fingertip. You can synchronize both viewports to make things easier. Okay, with this done, I'm going to plug my point correspondencies to the input of the wrapping node. Let's click the Compute button to recompute wrapping again. As you can see, the wrapping went almost perfectly, except for this finger that has been twisted. Let's fix that by providing a few more points to Select Points node. I think that 2 extra points will be enough. Let's go ahead to the wrapping node and compute wrapping again. This time the result is better. As you can see, Wrap has done almost a perfect job. Okay, that was a challenge, but now let's take a look at an even more challenging case. Here is a hand holding a ball. The problem with this model that makes manual retopology or automatic remeshing very challenging is that a big part of the hand is being occluded with the ball. Let's see how wrap can handle this. If we come back to the Select Points node, you can see that the previous point selection no longer matches the new scan. I'm going to clear previous points and repeat selection again. But before doing that, I'm going to remove unnecessary points on the left-hand side by clicking on them holding the Control key. Let's select 5 new points per each fingertip. You can adjust point position by clicking and dragging it to a new place. Okay, now that everything is ready for wrapping, let's click the Compute button again. Nice, the result is almost perfect. All the occluded areas seem to be in the right place. Now let's say for some reason I want to exclude these 2 fingers from wrapping and leave them unchanged. What I need to do now is to select the fingers using the Select Polygons node. If a model has polygroups or materials, wrap will highlight them inside the editor. We have several ways to do polygon selection. First is select it by lasso. The second way is to select a single polygon on a fingertip and use the Grow Selection button until the entire finger is selected. The third way is to go over here to the polygroup list and load the selection from polygroup. Let's plug the polygon selection into the last input of the wrapping node. As you can see, the finger polygons now become green. What I'm going to do now is to remove the corresponding control points for the last 2 fingers. Now we can go ahead and run wrapping again. Notice how the pinky and the ring finger are no longer stitching to a scan surface, but at the same time they are slightly adjusting its shape to match the rest of the base mesh. This feature is very useful when working with partial scans or when your base mesh contains eye and mouth sockets. Okay, perfect. The last step we need to do is save our wrapped model to a file. I'm going to use the Save Geometry node. Let me first create a folder that will store my results. I'm going to call it Wrapping. And I'm going to call the file handwrapped.obj. As I click Compute Current Frame, the model is being saved to the disk. Okay, that's it for now. I hope you've got the idea behind wrapping functionality. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in our next videos.